Offset smokers are often called stick burners, and the reason for that is because they usually burn real wood in the form of logs, and that's what you use to smoke your meat. And even people that don't like using stick burners tend to not argue when you say, for barbecue, the stick burners produce the best flavor. So the question is, why aren't they more popular? And there's two reasons for that. One reason is they're not the easiest cookers to use, and then the second is they're really expensive if you want to get a good one. There's four basic reasons why offset smokers are expensive. One is they're usually very large in overall size. They're also made of super thick steel. The good ones come with lots of options and features that you can add on. And typically the people that make the good ones are very experienced at their job. These are tradesmen that have been doing this a long time and really know what they're doing. All these things cost money, and that's why good offset cookers typically cost several $1,000s. So in order to build a cheaper cooker that doesn't cost thousands of dollars, you have to be willing to compromise in one or all of these four areas. So the cookers are smaller, and they're made out of thinner metal, and they offer fewer options to go with them, and the people that put them together are not quite as experienced. When you add all that up, it's not surprising what you end up with most of the time. So with a handful of exceptions, cheap offset smokers just weren't worth the money you saved. But I think the Bayou Classic Offset Smoker may be our best option yet. It's not that there's not compromises, it's just that the compromises are reasonable. The cook chamber is 18 by 36 inches. That may be small for an offset, but that's a lot bigger than all my other cookers. The 11 gauge steel body may not be the thickest offset smoker that you'll ever find, but it's a lot thicker than most of the other cookers in its class. And that doesn't even include those grill grates. Those grill grates, there's 3 of them and they weigh over 15 pounds. That's a lot of metal. 97, 98, 99, 100.
Dude, what are you doing?
Oh, just working out with my grill grate here. Why? You need to jump in?
Nah, I'm good.
No? Okay, all right. 101, 102. So regarding features and options, you've got all your typical features like a warmer plate, thermometer, lower shelf, and a bucket. We've got cool touch handles on both the cook chamber and the firebox, but this also has one on its cool twisty little intake bendy thing, which I kind of like. There's a front shelf that's not only surprisingly large, but sturdy enough to hold pans and equipment and other heavy things without even bending.
Why am I up here?
We're making a point.
Oh.
Some of the less common features are a grill scraper that perfectly fits the grill grates and also doubles as an ash removal tool, charcoal grates for inside the main body of the cooker, a baffle between the firebox and the main chamber, and a top shelf that adds room for 2 more racks of spare ribs and then slides back out of the way so you don't even have to store it when it's not in use. That's awesome. Then there's the super cool slide out firebox that I showed you earlier. I do wish the firebox was a little bit bigger, but this is cool because it makes it not only easy to start your fire at the beginning, but when you're done, it makes it easy to clean out the ash, and it protects the bottom of the firebox from ash, which causes rust. Rust is bad. It's also worth noting that the fire grate itself is very heavy duty. This thing feels like it'll last forever. So we've talked about size, the thickness of the steel, and the options. So now let's talk about the craftsmanship. The body is fully welded. Sometimes those welds aren't pretty, but they're there. The doors do have some air gaps, but that's pretty common. I may throw some gasket material on there at some point, but up till now, I really haven't felt a need, like it's not adversely affecting performance so much that I feel like I need to, and I've used it on some pretty windy days. Everything lines up fine. I mean, it looks the way you'd expect it to look. There's no like situations where you're left scratching your head and wondering, you know, if the welder was drunk when he was working that day. The main cooker door is flanged on the outside, which is a nice touch for a cheaper cooker. What that does is it keeps rain from running into the cooker for the most part. I mean, there's a little water that gets in there, but it's a lot better than it would be otherwise. So the craftsmanship isn't perfect, but I think it's good enough for the price. So what's it like to use this stick burner? Well, for a cheap stick burner, it's really good. The airflow is really good, so you get a clean fire, so that means you have good tasting food. You go through a log about every 30 to 45 minutes. I use the little logs from Academy. There is some distinct heat zones, which I used to worry about that, but after talking to Troy from T-Roy Cook's channel about his Yoda Wichita, I realized when you have temperature differences, it gives you options for using different heat zones. So I may go back and do some modifications to even that out, but what I found was that by simply putting a drip pan, like one of those foil drip pans, right up next to the baffle on the firebox side, within a few minutes, the temperatures from left to right even out to about 25 degrees apart. That's good enough for me. There are a few things I'd change. I wouldn't mind a slightly bigger firebox. Also the sliding door on the side is great for lighting the coal and cleaning out the ash, but what it doesn't do well is leave space to put in a log. So when you add logs, you gotta go in through the top, which is not that big a deal. I probably would have done that most of the time anyways. Probably the biggest thing I would change about this cooker is the wheels. I don't like those steel wheels that they use on some of these cheap offsets, and the main reason is just because they rust and then they leave marks in our patio. So that would be the only thing that I would really change about the cooker. With that said, I mean, for the price, you can't really complain. And speaking of price, so this is the reason why I did this video today. Costco currently has this cooker on sale, and the normal price is $680. Even now, I think it's worth it for that price. After owning it, it's kind of a no-brainer. Luckily, some of my friends on the Barbecue Brethren forum had noticed that the price dropped, so I ended up getting this grill for $499. But wait, there's more. And you have to act now, because I know this sounds like an infomercial, which by the way, they're not paying me for this. This is just to help you guys out. There's a guy in Georgia named Jason TQ, who's actually very funny, who picked up one at his local Costco for $399. That's ridiculous. I mean, like, if you want this cooker, go get it. Just don't even watch the rest of this video. Just grab your car keys and hit subscribe and then go. Just go get it. You're never gonna run across a deal like this again. Yeah, this is a good deal. I mean, this isn't a crappy starter grill. This is a good mid-range, mid-price offset cooker that for a patio cooker, you could use and be happy with for a really, really long time. Thanks for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. Also, thanks for watching my previous video. The Wagyu brisket cook has gotten almost 50,000 views already, and it just kind of amazes me. Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate you guys watching. I'll put a link to that in the bottom if you haven't seen it, as well as a link to some of my other grill reviews that I've done in the past. But I just want to take a moment and say thank you very much for your support. I really appreciate you guys, and we'll see you next time. So people ask all the time, what is the best So people ask all the time, what's the best cheap offset? So people ask all the time, what is the best cheap offset? What is wrong with me?